thought forgiving him would bring me peace. Instead, it cost me everything. My home, my sanity, my trust. And as the laughter at the table grew louder, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I knew I was about to say the one thing that could never be unsaid.
Welcome to Reddit Toxic Family Telltales channel. New episode every day.
A few years back, my brother came to me with what seemed like such an innocent request. He said his card was locked and asked if he could borrow mine, just to order some takeout. I didn't think much of it. He was my brother, after all. But instead of ordering food, he used my card to drain my entire savings account. Every single dollar. That money wasn't play money. It wasn't for vacations or some luxury splurge. It was supposed to be my down payment on a house. I'd been building it up for years, brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. And just like that, it was gone. $75,000, stolen by my own brother. When I found out, I completely broke down. I locked myself inside my apartment, started drinking, and in a moment of rage, I texted him, "I hate you. You can rot in hell." The very next morning, my parents showed up at my door, and instead of outrage, instead of being on my side, they actually told me what he did was forgivable. Because family is more important than money. I remember just staring at them like, "Are you serious?" Of course, they'd say that. He was their golden boy, their perfect son who could do no wrong. My mother's face twisted, crocodile tears rolling down her cheeks, until she realized I wasn't buying it. Then she started screaming. That was the moment I lost it. I threw them out of my apartment and told them they could go join my brother in hell for all I cared. So there I was, back to renewing my lease for another year, stuck in that little apartment, when I should have been holding the keys to my first home. I had worked years for that money, years, and it disappeared in seconds. But my parents didn't give up. They'd call and guilt-trip me about how they hadn't seen me in a while, and every single time I reminded them why, Jim, and every single time, they'd lecture me. Say I'd regret it when I was old and gray, that life was short, that I should cherish the time we have together. I shot back with the truth. They always had the option to visit me. Not that I actually wanted them to, but I wasn't about to let them twist the narrative. One day, my mom tried a different angle. She said Jim told her he missed me, that he'd always loved the little Sarah, who used to get spaghetti all over her hair as a toddler. And instantly, I knew the exact story she was talking about. I've heard it 100 times. How one night, she sat me in my high chair and gave me spaghetti for the first time. I hated it. Threw it everywhere, on the floor, the walls, myself. Screamed, kicked, yanked my hair with sauce-covered fingers. The kitchen looked like a war zone. And who came to the rescue? Jim, 12 years old, cleaning me up, helping mom scrub the mess. I'll admit, hearing that story again softened me. For a split second, it made me remember the good times. And in a moment of weakness, I let my guard down. I decided to give him another chance, but this time with boundaries. Forgiving him wasn't easy. Weeks turned into months, and every time I looked at him, I was reminded of the house I didn't have, the future I had to rebuild from scratch. Still, I tried. We started being civil. My parents loved it, family dinners, game nights, movie nights. They wanted things back the way they were. And slowly, I started to laugh with him again. Started to believe maybe, just maybe, he could change. Eventually, we even started hanging out one-on-one, doing things we used to love as kids. One of our favorite adventures had always been ziplining. There's this spot near our parents' house. High up on a cliff, deep in the woods. You strap in, launch yourself off, and fly across the trees before dropping straight into the lake. It always scared me, that split second before the drop, but with Jim by my side, it felt almost like old times. Afterward, starving and hyped on adrenaline, we hit a fast food drive-thru back in the city. That's when I noticed. My main credit card was missing. My heart dropped. This was my everyday card. I always knew where it was. My mind raced. Did I drop it at the zipline? Did it slip out of my pocket? Jim saw my face and casually asked if I was okay. I told him my card was gone, and he shrugged, said it was no big deal and offered to pay. We got our food, and I drove him back to our parents' house, since he didn't even have his own car anymore. Lost it in a bet about a year ago. When I finally got home, I checked my wallet again, and there it was, my card, but not in its usual slot. It was tucked away in a different pocket entirely. For a second, I brushed it off, told myself I must have been tired, must have misplaced it, so I convinced myself everything was fine, and went to bed. The very next night, I was lying in bed when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my credit card company. "Do you authorize this purchase?" My stomach dropped as I read the location. A casino. And not just any casino, the exact one near my parents' house. The same place my brother Jim blew his paycheck every other Friday. I froze. My hands went cold. Could he really have? Again? I declined the charge instantly, heart pounding, and pulled up my other accounts. And that's when I saw it. My cards had all hit their monthly limits. I knew that wasn't possible. I barely used them. That's when it clicked. Jim must have taken photos of my cards when we hung out the other day and slipped them back into my wallet like nothing ever happened. I tried to dispute the charges, but the merchants had proof. Proof it was Jim making the purchases. And just like that, the banks told me I was stuck with the debt. $7,000 wiped out. And this time, my credit cards were maxed. I called him immediately, shaking with rage. The phone didn't even ring twice before it clicked. He declined my call. My blood boiled so hot I thought I'd combust. I called my parents instead. Mom picked up, all soft and sweet at first. But when I told her what Jim had done, how he'd racked up thousands on my cards, she just sighed and said she'd call him and get back to me. I snapped. No, don't bother. I'm coming over. It was almost 11 at night when I pulled up to their house. I sat in the living room, waiting in the dark like a storm about to break. When the door finally creaked open, Jim stepped inside, flicked on the light, and nearly jumped out of his skin when he saw me sitting there. "Where's my money?" I demanded. He blinked, pretending to be confused. But I cut him off. I told him I knew. That I knew he'd stolen my card info, that I knew what he did. And then I threatened to call the cops right then and there if he didn't start talking. That's when he broke down. His voice cracked as he confessed. He said he felt guilty about ruining my chance at a house, that he wanted to make it up to me. So, get this, his brilliant plan was to gamble my money at the casino, to win it back for me. Of course, he didn't win. He lost it all. Every cent. I stared at him in disbelief. If you felt so bad about stealing my money, why the hell would you steal even more? That's when my parents shuffled downstairs. Mom tried to play peacemaker, whispering for me to calm down, but I was done. Absolutely done. He'd stolen my future twice. First my house down payment and now my credit. Jim mumbled apology after apology, but it was meaningless. My parents had nothing to say in his defense this time, and I made my decision right there. I cut him off for good. I told all of them never to contact me again. In the weeks that followed, the damage set in. My credit score tanked by over 100 points. The loan I'd applied for was dead in the water. The dream of owning my first home? Gone. I had no choice but to pick up a second job on top of my 9-to-5 just to claw my way back. Day after day, I worked myself into the ground. 4 hours of sleep, endless shifts. My mental health spiraled, but I kept grinding because what else could I do? And the worst part? Jim didn't even offer to help. He actually told my parents he didn't owe me anything, because in his mind, he was trying to help. I ignored his calls. I ignored my parents' calls. I wanted nothing to do with them. If it weren't for them, for their constant excuses for him, I wouldn't be drowning in debt and exhaustion. Eventually, when I'd made a little progress, I let go of the second job. I cut back on expenses, tried to stabilize myself. By October, I was finally catching my breath. Barely. When the phone rang again, it was Mom, for the 4th time that week. This time I picked up. She sounded relieved, like she just pulled me back from the edge of a cliff. She told me how much they missed me, and then she started reminiscing about Halloween when I was little. Pumpkin carving, Disney specials, Dad putting up yard decorations, ghost-shaped cookies with hot cocoa. Her voice cracked a little when she said she just wanted to see me again. Against my better judgment, I agreed to let them come over. The following week, they visited. We sat and talked, and for a while it felt almost normal. We never mentioned Jim, never said a word about the mess. But then Mom leaned forward. She asked me to come to Thanksgiving dinner. They were hosting it this year. I shook my head. No, I don't want to. She promised me no drama, just a simple family gathering, just like the old days. I hesitated. Could I even look Jim in the eye without wanting to knock him out? And that's when my dad spoke up. My dad never begged for anything, but this time he did. He practically pleaded with me to forgive Jim, said it would mean the world. My heart twisted. Against every warning in my gut, I gave in. I said I'd forgive him. I said I'd come. My parents jumped up, hugged me, kissed me, thanked me like I just saved their lives. They swore up and down that Jim would never do anything like that again. That I'd be safe. I wasn't convinced, but I agreed. For them. For one last Thanksgiving. In the weeks leading up to Thanksgiving, I felt like a ghost in my own family. On social media, there they were, posting pictures of dinners out, game nights, smiling like nothing was wrong. And all I could think was, that should have been me. I should have been there. But the sting of betrayal was still fresh. My trust in them was shattered, and meanwhile I was drowning in bills, trying to figure out which ones to pay and which ones would have to wait. My credit was wrecked, my savings gone, and I was still picking up the broken pieces of a future I didn't even break. As the holiday crept closer, I thought about backing out. Honestly, I knew deep down it wouldn't be good for my mental health. So I called my mom, ready to tell her I wasn't coming. But the second she picked up, she was buzzing with excitement, talking about decorations, last-minute shopping, and how she'd already told everyone I was coming. My heart sank. Backing out wasn't an option anymore. When the day finally came, I drove to their house with a knot in my stomach. Couldn't eat. I couldn't even imagine trying. Anything I put in would have come straight back out. I walked inside, and there they were, my family, gathered around the table, laughing, smiling. And my brother? He looked right at me like nothing had ever happened. He cracked jokes, acted cheeky, laughed with everyone else as if the mountain of debt he left me with didn't even exist. It burned me up inside, watching him sit there, carefree, while I had to leave that dinner and head straight to bed just to wake up for my job in the morning. He was the reason I couldn't buy the house I wanted. The reason I was barely keeping my head above water. I tried to swallow it, tried to keep the peace. But by the end of the meal, I couldn't take it anymore. My heart was hammering in my chest when I stood up. The room quieted as I stared straight at him. And then, I let it all out. I told him exactly what he'd done to me, how he had destroyed me financially, how I'd been forced to work multiple jobs just to survive. I told him I didn't trust him, not anymore, not after everything. I was done pretending, done letting him get away with it. Then I turned to my parents. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. I told them they had enabled him for years, choosing this fake picture of family unity over my actual well-being. How is that fair? I asked. The whole room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Jim tried to laugh it off, saying it was all in the past. But I cut him down quick. I told him I was done forgiving him, that he wasn't welcome in my life anymore. And then I walked out. I thought that was it, that I'd be left alone to deal with the fallout, same as always. But over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Family members started reaching out. They apologized for not having my back sooner, said they had no idea how bad things really were. Some even offered to help me financially, to try and make up for what Jim had done. It floored me. For the first time in years, I realized I wasn't alone. Turns out, not everyone was willing to turn a blind eye to his mess.
Thanks for watching. Today's train wreck is over, but tomorrow's ride is already on track. Subscribe so you don't miss it.